So I think it's really interesting to compliment and ask. And no matter where you go, you're going to be learning the culture for at least a certain part of the time up front, right? The best and worst questions to ask international women. Take note, get something to write with. This is really, really important, guys. If you think that it's hard to date international women, you're wrong. It's not. It's easy to date international women. It's also easy to make a good impression or easy to make a bad impression. Obviously, if you meet somebody that you really like, you definitely want to make a good impression. And no matter where you go, you're going to be learning the culture for at least a certain part of the time up front, right? We're going to talk about pre-thinking and pre-writing, if you will, the questions that you want to make sure you ask in that first communication, whether it's correspondence or meeting for a date. Remember, guys, again, it's important to make the right first impression. Of course, you want to do that. Also, remember that you are probably not, in most cases, the only correspondent. So it's very important, if you want to stand out, if you want to be her favorite first impression, her favorite first date, your questions are going to say a lot about you. They will show whether or not you are calm and balanced emotionally. They're going to show whether or not you're confident in yourself. The kinds of questions that you ask will show if you're insecure or confident. Being emotionally balanced is very important to these women. So if you're healthy-minded, if you've got a good attitude toward women and relationships and people in general. And let's apply right now 4 rules that we're going to apply to all of the questions that you ask on a first date or in that first communication with your international girl. You ready for this? Your questions should always be, guys, open-ended and inviting. Inviting means they encourage her to talk. You want to listen more than to talk. On every date and every correspondence experience, I can't tell you how many times, guys, I get it, you're lonely. Certainly tell a lot about yourself, that's important. And definitely respond to her questions, but be open-ended and inviting and keep her talking about herself. It's also important when you ask questions, guys, sometimes mannerisms or just a change in something as simple as, the way we pronounce something, the way our voice goes up and down, just little simple nuances can throw a conversation off. So I think it's really important to reinforce that you're having a good date, that she's interesting, that you're having fun listening to her, and that you want to listen more to her. So I think it's really interesting to compliment and ask. Gloria, when I saw your profile, I noticed you have these amazing eyes, and they're brown. But then if you look closely enough, there's a little green or something there, or they're blue, but almost gray. Very unique, very, very beautiful. I love your eyes. Very first thing I noticed about you. Tell me what kind of compliments you get. What are some things that people notice about you first? I bet it's your eyes. What else? Open-ended question, invite her to talk, let her talk a lot about herself. Be direct. It's okay to be direct. Do you find me attractive? But not too deep. Direct and deep are different, guys, right? You can be direct. Do you like me? Do you like me as a man? Do you find me attractive? Could you see yourself falling in love with someone like me? But not too deep, right? Not too deep and not too heavy. Nobody wants to be heavy at the end of a 12-hour day when she's tired, and she's got to go home and take care of stuff. Later on when you get to know each other and you're talking about the deep parts of your relationship, those deep questions are very welcome and appropriate. In the beginning, those deep questions are just going to kind of throw things off a little bit. Avoid sensitive buttons. Everybody has them. And typically you'll find them in things like past relationships. Don't talk too much about past relationships. You don't need to do that. Just trust that when she's comfortable, she'll tell you about her past relationships. Of course, religion and politics. Never, ever, ever talk politics in your correspondence or on your first 10 dates with a girl. They don't want to talk about politics. They couldn't care less about politics, and that's just not a good subject. At some point, your general political ideas become relevant, but that's going to be deep, deep into the relationship, guys. And negative cultural references, one that I'll talk about in a moment, is we always assume that the women in certain places do not like the men in certain places. And generally, that's true. What you find is that the women don't like some of the behaviors of men, stances around men that create that, and they don't necessarily hold that against men. They just don't want to experience it or put up with it.
You too can experience the romantic adventure of a lifetime. Join men from all over the world as they take a trip and find their future brides. Interested? Learn more at
MedellинWomen.com.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Then click on the notice bell to get notified every time we add something new.